So for today's creative expression, I'm going to be reading from the Bhagavad-gita, a few selected verses and a few selected points, and then sharing my realizations just spontaneously. So we'll see how the words flow. Okay, so I'm reading from the 16th chapter, which is entitled The Divine and Demoniac Natures. And Krishna begins this chapter by listing out this incredible list of qualities of the divine nature. And, he describes many qualities such as fearlessness, self-control, truthfulness, austerity, gentleness, modesty. And these are all qualities that kind of hint to us of reaching our highest potential as a human being, as a soul, as anything. These qualities are really a sense of inspiration just by reading them. I feel inspired by reading them. And so Srila Prabhupada, he writes a very long purport going into detail with each one of these qualities. And so he talks about the quality of austerity. And so this word austerity in modern times almost is a little archaic and people don't use it too much. But it's very much emphasized in Vedic culture and in religious traditions to have some austerity. And the definition of austerity is really to undergo voluntary suffering in order to make advancement. And the phenomenon with austerity is that if one does that, one actually generates tremendous power. And this can be seen if for anything, even in this material world, right? If we want to get a degree and have the power of that degree, we have to go through a lot of austerity in school. All the studying, all the money it takes, the time, the energy to get that degree. So in that sense, austerity is something that we do if we want to achieve anything worthwhile. So especially in religious life, austerity is emphasized, especially in these Vedic traditions. So Prabhupada talks about austerity here, and especially for leaders of spiritual traditions, and that if you're going to have any substance to your religious practice or spiritual practice at all, there needs to be rules and regulations. So Srila Prabhupada writes, without tapasya or austerity, no human being can get liberation. So it's not just about going on through life with ease. There actually needs to be voluntary suffering, such as waking up early or restricting one's eating or habits, right? The theory that there is no need of austerity in life, that one can go on speculating and everything will be nice, is recommended neither in the Vedic literature nor in Bhagavad-gita. Such theories are manufactured by show bottle spiritualists who are trying to gather more followers. So this phrase, show bottle spiritualist, I think it's quite interesting of Prabhupada. This show bottle spiritualist, I guess the root of that would mean it's just kind of, I'm not sure the etymology of that phrase, but it definitely brings to mind going to a circus in the 1920s and there's just some magician in a case and he's doing some magical trick, but we know that deep down we're being fooled, but we don't know what the trick is, but we are okay with being fooled. So it's almost like the show bottle spiritualist. It's this idea of like maybe fooling followers, but they're okay with being fooled because the hard work it takes to actually do some work in spiritual life is tough. It's understandable, right? So Prabhupada continues, if there are restrictions, rules, and regulations, people will not become attracted. Therefore, those who want followers in the name of religion, just to have a show only, don't restrict the lives of their students, nor their own lives. So I found this a really powerful point here that, if something is austere, if we have to go through some kind of suffering, we're not attracted. We want to have some ease and peace and happiness and some pleasure, and I have to say that for myself. It's hard to feel inspired if everything's just hard or everything is just austere. And so, but kind of almost making a life of this, that like, okay, I'm going to attract people, but there is no restrictions or rules or regulations. But Prabhupada comes back to saying that this method is not proved by the Vedas or by the scriptures. And so it has a degree of faith. Okay, one needs to have some faith in the scriptures that this is even an effective process. At the same time, I just think it's very interesting that if somebody is a spiritual leader, rules and regulations need to be emphasized, because that actually is where the rubber meets the road. That actually means I'm living this as my life. And if I'm going to undergo voluntary austerity, there's actually a lot of great power that comes from that, spiritual Shakti or power that is generated. And so this principle of undergoing austerity for a higher cause, a higher purpose, is what human life is meant for, this tapasya, this austerity. And I've been thinking about this fine line, because if one does austerity, sometimes it can make the heart hard. A little bit like, look at all the hard work I'm doing, and you're not doing any hard work. And there's some judgment that comes with that, harshness. If I'm like waking up at super early in the morning every day and I'm exhausted and tired, but I'm like, no, I have to do this. There's this kind of like pushing through, this harsh, forcing energy, and just really reflecting, how do I find a balance with making sure I can effectively and sustainably engage in tapasya for the advancement of my own life and my spiritual life, without wearing down my spirit, without feeling like I'm broken and exhausted and drained. And so this balance between finding some softness and finding that pleasure and gentleness and not pushing myself, versus, okay, when do I know how to push myself in a way that is sustainable and actually life-giving and empowering? So those are my thoughts on this particular quality of the divine and demoniac natures, of especially this quality of austerity, and the absolute essential nature of doing austerity and living an austere life, and at the same time how to balance that with a realistic view, and how to be sustainable and keep a soft and gentle heart. All right. Hare Krishna.